The story of an incident that took place in the Prophet's life. Alayhi salam, and these 4 ayats are about this conversation that the Prophet alayhi salam had with a woman who was otherwise not at all famous. Her name was Kol Della Ilaha. She was having problems with her husband and she wanted to discuss this problem, the life of the Prophet, so there, but because of this conversation and she was complaining about something in the life of the Prophet, so they didn't have an answer to her question, and Allah had not yet revealed the answer to him. Instead of complaining about the Prophet's life, sometime after an argument with him, she complained to Allah, and Allah did not send the Quran because of her. And a year after the Prophet's lies, Salam passed away from the table of Allah. Anju, who was the head of state, can you think about it today? Today he was the president and he was traveling with the entourage, and they certainly have cars. A short time that they have to get somewhere, a table at the Sor tomb is going to be with a bunch of delegates from different parts in Korea and so on, and she was walking by down the street and she said yes Allah, she just called it a roll, and her little D11 that stopped the caravan stopped the entourage, and the official government trip. He got off the horse and he gets down and he starts talking to her, and she starts yelling at him, and she tells him, I knew you when they were calling you, or did or done means little or mom, so you should remember you from when you were little. And then she gave him like, you should fear Allah now. Now you're a big shot head of your state, your beauty has an evil look. Look at you now, always fear Allah, always remember a lot. She talking to him for an hour, she lectured him on the street right there, and his whole team is guarding all the rest of the ambassadors who are there waiting there. Just standing there waiting for the machines to finish, and he doesn't say a word. He just, and when she's done and then she leaves, and then he says we can go, and some of his employees came to him and told her that we need a head of believers, need a chapter of the faithful, ma, nominally, and we've never had a day like this before. I've never seen anything like this before. That you stop all these VIPs. The village is an old lady. That's why you stopped and said this woman, when she complained, her complaint was dealt with above the 7 heavens, and Allah has sent for Allah and for this woman. If she had spoken to me all night, I would stand here, and if she left me the next day, I'd be standing here. The only time I would have left if she gave me a reason to go pray, so that I could have that one time, I'd leave. Well, otherwise, as I'm not gonna listen to the one who heard above 7 heavens, the Quran does not descend, for she in any case comes to the Prophet. So I Mashan said that I complain, and when she says to him, she says a bunch of things, that she says a lot of things about her husband. She says he's an old man, he doesn't have the good manners I used to be able, and she's younger than him. But she's not that young, right? So she says that I could have children, but now that I can't have kids anymore, he thinks I'm worthless and he treats me like a servant. And she even goes on to say in another, narrating the same story, I was young and a lot of guys and a lot of men wanted to marry me, but I chose him. And look how he treated me, and today he came home. He was upset. And I answered him, and when I answered, he gave me a little harsh comment. I gave him more harsh comment on the response of some of you. Some of you married men. I know how it feels, and he got so upset, he said to me, from today you're like my mother. And it was a machine slave tradition before Islam. It was called stepping in, and the heart was such an ugly practice, where when you really angry at your wife, you say, from today I swear you're like a mom to me, and that means I will Never have any kind of relationship with you again because I think of you as my mom now, so he told her that. And then he left the house and he went, and she says that he was with his friends for an hour or so, and then he came back and he wanted to get close to me. And I said, no, you will not come close to me. Meanwhile Allah and his messenger is making decision. Because you said what you said. You said. You said that I said I would never let you touch me again until I speak less to their prophets. So she comes to the prophet's class and she says that's what he said, what we should do, and the prophets I first said that I didn't have revelation. Answer this question. The Quran. It talks about divorce, but it doesn't talk about today, you're my mother. It doesn't. It doesn't solve this car problem yet. So the Prophet ﷺ has no answer to her question. An answer to her question, but based on that Prophet AI's system, I can tell you that he, in his own opinion, said this woman, as far as I can to see for a long time today, he orbit you. Become her property, friend. You can't be with him anymore. But I'm not saying I know the answer, but it's just my opinion. And she says Mahila lacto. Well, here. But he didn't say divorce, so she starts arguing with the prophets later, and although witnesses to the incident say that she was going back and forth, and she was actually became more and more upset with the messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi, and told him Jesus would have known that he had actually announced divorce. I don't understand that answer. And then she became like this when the problem wasn't the answer that she wanted, and she tried explain to him that we have children, and then she says that if I leave these kids with him tomorrow, they're going to die. Makan doesn't know how to take care of kids. He's terrible with kids. He's mean to me, but he's also terrible with the kids. He can't handle taking care of them, and if I can never be with him again, and the kids in the house, these kids are all but dead. And then she says, but if I leave the kids with me, Joe, they're going to start. Today I have no way to provide for them. We can't destroy this family is the problem that she represents. The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is our son, and he is not the answer. There came a time when she was so disappointed in the Prophet Allahu Alaihi Wasallam. She put her hands and her head in the sky. And she said, maybe Allah put some words in your Prophet's son, because he has no answer for me, and reveals a lot of things about it. And the Prophet began to speak, began to recite this Quran. Allah reveals, saying to Allah, Col Ladi Jan Lukaji Hafiz. Allah was a hearer, already heard the word of the machines of the woman who comes and argues with you about her husband, and she comes appealing to Allah with a sticker a lot, and she addresses her complaint to Allah. And to Allah is the measure of Taha, what I am, my Allah. This is a list that listen to all together with the dialogue you two have. Maha the Samaritan will see indeed. Allah is the one who hears and the one who sees. Now the first lesson we're going to learn here from Allah himself, that when someone in trouble and when someone is in desperate situation and they come to you asking for help, even if they raise their voice without arguing with you, because it's a terrible situation, you shouldn't get upset. How dare you talk to me so? Show respect. You should ignore the raised voice. You must ignore the tone, and you must be sympathetic to the pain of the difficulties in which they are in. Allah overlooked the fact that it is the machines being spun by his messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and now Allah answers. He says, Aladdin You are 1 minute. Usually it is said by those of you who are going to say such things to their women, their wife. If you ever say something like that, you're like a mother to me. The first thing Allah says in Huna Maja. They're not their moms. They're not their moms in Omaha. That in Los Angeles he's not gonna to have a home. Their mothers are the ones who gave them life. Now it's not rocket science, everyone already knows. It's your mom. The mom that gave you birth, and the people who said it also knew it. But the fact that a lot of things have gone out of their way to say, by the way, all of you who say the kind of crap that makes no sense, number one and first of all, you already is the mother that gave you birth with. It's the law way to scold not the woman but men who said something arrogant because they felt that I'm in a bad mood, I'm just gonna say what the machines I was going to say, and then he didn't stop there. He says, well, in Nam Leo Moon Column Woko Hedon an aura, and they're saying something nasty, something disgusting, and it's false testimony. How dare you use the word mother? That now I don't have to make a list in just about every culture in the world. The devil has made the devil know. Shaitan has the same shape on the Scottish Islands. Speak Japanese and Shaitan speaks Punjabi and Shaitan speaks English. It's the same thing that she thought food could be different and cultures can be different. The devil is the same, and hell knows what Allah did. Made the uterus sacred. That's why you find in almost every language one of the most used word for mother, and as one who has no respect because the womb has no matters to Allah, is the bond between husband and wife is also sacred. As motherhood is sacred, so is marriage. Cars are sacred and marriage is also sacred. This is something Allah calls me candela. The Nile is a heavy contract, therefore after Allah says, well, those of you who did this and tomorrow do not eat Apollo, and they want to return from what they said, but hey Durikabatan, you need to release the slave in full ta masa before they can touch each other, and then you end the alga to be this advice to you being given in Allah, hope that you do not commit, and Allah knows what you're doing. Then he says, and for my airplane Lamia, and whoever can't do that must fast. Listen carefully. Now this man, then he must fast 660 consecutive days, 2 months in a row before they can touch each other. And then he says, and the one who can't do it for me, Museveni misses the whale, and like any other city are parts of Shanya, when if you quickly miss it, you can make up for it. Make up for it by feeding someone so that you have to feed 60 people. By the way, in this story, when he went ayat came down, the car lady didn't stop. Salah said, it's not that kind of money to free the slave, and he said, well, think about fasting for 60 days, and she said we can't even do one a day. When he misses one meal, he starts going blind. He can't do, and then she said, well, he can feed 60. She said, we can't. I know he doesn't have enough food to give to anyone he's got. We barely have enough food ourselves. Who is he is going to give so to the Prophet? I said. Then they brought me a basket of dates, and it says don't give it to 60 people, and the leftovers are taken home. Is that what he did to save her family? This man and this woman could only had this argument, and a couple hours later he wanted to be with her. Yet, let's just pretend this never happened. You can do this. You can do this. Do it till the day of judgment. What Allah wills. Remind you that these words that you said are not like verbal abuse inside.